All right. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever it is that you are tuning in from. It's great to have you here. My name is Just Vince, and I am joined here by,
Devin Kronk. What's going on, guys?
and I just want to be the
Welcome.
first to say Happy New Year. I'm excited that 2020 is over. So far, 2021 has been excellent. I cannot wait to see what this new year has in store, man. I'm really
Yes.
excited.
Happy New Year, everybody. I'm excited too. Lots of new game releases, lots of new content coming from both of us. It's gonna be a great year for
Cyberpunk
sure.
finally came out, so people can talk about anything else. I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's an exciting
exactly.
time, you know?
Yeah.
There's going to be plenty of other stuff to do. All right. So, Devin Kronk, new year,
What's up, man?
same you, with a different
Right.
name than last year. Well, with a different
Ooh.
name for part of last year. Tell us what you've been doing. Give us a little, insight into you and what you've been up to like recently and maybe some stuff that you got coming up for the new year. What you got planned? What's in the
All
works?
right. Well, it's been we've been gone 2 3 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll touch on that in a second. But yes, we've
Okay,
we've
yeah.
been gone for a while. Too
I've
long.
been busy. We've been doing stuff. That covers Christmas, New Year, that kind of stuff. I was building gingerbread houses and ranking the best Christmas songs and playing Pogo Stuck, the best game ever made, by the way.
I didn't get to ask
And
you, but how did your gingerbread house taste? It looked disgusting when you bit into
it
it.
was absolutely terrible.
Okay.
It's like biting into a candle. Those things are so waxy.
Wow. Actually a candle. Excellent.
um but yeah, that's, I mean, as of late though, with I it's Pogo Stuck, Smash, and then for New Year's Eve, we did a whole little channel review. And I'm kind of doing the same thing on my YouTube channel, but you can find that out on Sunday.
Right on YouTube.
How about you, man? How's life
Man.
been?
Well, we did miss a few weeks, and that was heavily on me. I had a crazy couple of weeks where like I fell down my stairs and like bit the tip of my tongue really hard and couldn't talk properly for like a week and a half, and then like immediately after that got COVID.
And then you got
Um,
COVID,
yeah.
yeah.
So I was out of work for about 2.5 weeks. I could get up. Excuse me. I could get up for about maybe like 1 to 3 hours at a time before I had to lay back down again because I was just exhausted from existing. I guess I have no idea. Like it was weird, man. It was weird. Never had anything like it. And like,
Yeah, that's it.
what's that?
How Here, go ahead and continue. I'll ask after.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, like I feel miserable, and like I would get up and I'd be like, man, I'm off work right now, and I can't really be working, and like I want to do something productive, and I want to like try to see if I can stream and stuff like that, but I couldn't even talk without coughing for more than like 30 seconds at a time. It was crazy.
Right. On a Out of every illness you've ever had, how would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
Probably about an 8.
8, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
And was there like nausea, or was it just like pure exhaustion and like just general feeling of crappiness?
so
Like,
like I've heard a lot of people have a lot of different symptoms from having COVID. Like um a few that I never got. I never got a fever, strangely enough. Like
oh wow, okay.
every time I took my temperature, which I didn't take my temperature for the first like 5 days that I had it, to be clear. Then I finally got my hands on a thermometer. My parents dropped one off that I could just like point to my head and like click it to test like my temperature or
Yeah.
whatever. And like 5 days after, I didn't have a fever. Like after that, so that was weird to me. And then I never got like really bad diarrhea. Like a few people that I've worked with said that it was like terrible, like some of the worst they've ever had. So I was like, nice, you know. Glad that I missed out
Porcelain
on that one.
shattering.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
yeah, exactly. So glad that I missed out on that one. And then I never lost my sense of taste or smell. So like
Okay.
I was
I
still
I
able to
heard
eat and
that.
stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. I heard that with that one, it was like some people are losing their taste and like it's not coming back for months.
That's crazy.
Like
That's a
bad.
lot.
Yeah. I guess it affects everybody differently, but um I'm glad you're nice and healthy. Glad to be back at the podcast. Glad to see
Yeah.
you streaming again. So,
Yeah, I'm excited to be back, man. I mean, I have gotten to in the last week stream some Smite, stream some Sea of Thieves. I've been playing a lot of Valorant. I don't think I've played any of it on stream yet though, but I've been playing with a couple of other friends who stream, and that has been so much fun playing that with you guys. We had a 5 stack rolling last night. It was you and me and
yeah,
Shoria, Sniper
dude.
Killer. Like we were having a great time. Um, I don't know, man. I'm just so excited for this new year. We got a lot of plans. I made my first TikTok yesterday. That was I
Yes.
I'm still like I'm still uncertain how I feel about the platform, but I understand that for discoverability, it's one of the best platforms for just getting yourself out there in front of a new audience. So, I
Yeah.
mean, so far
I
my
mean,
my first TikTok ever is sitting at like 24 likes and 400 views or something like that. So it's like, I mean,
right.
it's getting out there in front of people. So something's working clearly, but to be determined
Totally.
whether or not it's something that I want to stick with moving forward.
That's like my stance on it. I mean, anybody who knows me personally, I knows that I don't like TikTok at all. But I as a content creator, I understand and respect the fact that that app is pulling in all kinds of discoverability, different avenues for people to reach your channel, and that can't be ignored. So as long as it's doing that, I'm gonna use that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like at some point you have to think, like, as a content creator, like, what's going to be the best for your channel. And this is something that I think a lot of content creators don't like to do. Especially people who are like, you know what, who cares? I'm just going to play the most saturated game ever, and I'm not going to do any networking, and my channel's just going to grow all on its own. You know, and I
Haha.
mean, at some point you got to look at it and be like, you got to pick one or the other. It is what it is. You know,
Yeah,
you either have to pick unsaturated games if you don't want to network, so people can discover your channel naturally on Twitch, or you have to start putting some work into networking and going out there and meeting other people and talking to other people and working with other content creators and like making friends and like doing things like that. Because otherwise, you're just not going to go anywhere. I think TikTok is a
yeah.
necessary evil.
I do, yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not really big on social media in general, which is pretty ironic
Yeah.
considering, like, what I enjoy doing, but, like, yeah, no, I it is definitely a necessary evil, and I feel like when people get into streaming, they don't realize, like, the time that goes into, like, all that offline networking and stuff. I say that with my channel and even like with the podcast, like a lot of it is just like me working offline.
Hmm.
I would say like it's probably like 20% online effort, 80% offline effort.
I mean, I would even liken it to like film production.
Yeah.
Realistically, I mean, you see how many hours anytime you watch a behind the scenes thing, you know, they condense like all the years of work that went into putting out this like hour and a half to 2.5 hour film, you know.
Yeah.
And you never see all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, all of the work that people had to put in, all of the effects stuff, all of the design work that went into those graphics, all of the money that was raised for making the film, all of the choosing the cast and everything that you put in front of the people, like all the work that goes behind putting what's on your screen. People are never going to see all that stuff, you know. And
True.
they only see the glamorous part. They only see the people subscribing to your channel. They only see the new follows, the fun. They don't see the work. But there's a
Yeah,
lot
no.
there, you know?
Let me tell you, man, I love making videos. I love streaming. I love talking to you guys, making new friends and all that, but there are some mornings I wake up and I gotta keep up with my Sunday uploads because I don't like to miss those. And sometimes
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, man, I really don't want to edit this video. It happens, like um it isn't all just like play, play, play. And granted, it isn't the hardest thing in the world, but like it takes effort for sure. A lot
Most
of
definitely.
effort that people don't see.
Most definitely. All right, well, happy new
Moving
year.
on.
Happy
Happy
new
New Year,
year.
guys.
We're excited to be here. We're excited to be back. We're ready to get into this week's topic. This week we are doing our own Game of the Year awards. The real Game of the Year awards. You know, because the
Aw.
Game of the Year awards that had actors showing up and like all these big announcements and everything like that, that's not official. This is official. We're
This
here
is
to
the
give out
real
the genuine
game.
100% bona fide Game of the Year right
That's
now.
right. The real game awards start now, January 2nd, 2021.
Yeah, the year after,
Welcome.
of
Yeah.
course. But starting out, we're gonna hit it off with some announcements first. So at the Game Awards, there were a ton of game announcements, and we've kind of condensed this list down to a few that we kind of wanted to talk about, we thought were important. And the first one up on our list is there was a trailer for Back for Blood, which I've been
Yeah.
fortunate enough now to see some gameplay. Our friend Shoria, who has been on the podcast before, awesome guy. Be sure to check out his channel if you haven't already. He actually secured himself an alpha code and was playing some of the game, and it looked pretty fun.
Yep.
You know, the trailer looked pretty cool, but actually getting to see gameplay of it, I was actually surprised how like far ahead it seems in development. Like honestly.
It Yeah, it looked really good, and I didn't when I watched Shoria play, I didn't notice anything that looked like game breaking as far as bugs go. And it looked smooth. He was in a party with his friends, and it just seemed like a great time. Like, I don't know, it gives me those Left 4 Dead vibes, and I had a lot of fun with Left 4 Dead when I was younger, so I think it tickles my nostalgia a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
And I was surprised at first with how polished it looked for an alpha, and then I took a second look at the release date, and it's coming out June 21st, 2021. So I mean that this game is 6 months away. That's coming up very
Yeah,
soon. You know, as far as game development years go, that is right around the corner. And for a game that's coming out in 6 months, I think it needs to be that polished. But as much as you said this gives you Left 4 Dead vibes, I mean it is from Turtle Rock, who are the same developers for Left 4 Dead. But that is exactly why I'm skeptical, because those are the same guys who made Evolve.
yep,
Um, and Evolve was a game that was designed from the ground up to be about DLC, and I'm hoping that they've learned from their mistakes. And it was published by 2K. I don't know if this game is published by 2K. I haven't looked at that yet, but we know that 2K Games is notorious for like cramming DLC into the throats of all of their games and all of their consumers. And I look at a game like this, and it's a game that is like just has so much potential. But I saw Evolve the same way. I thought that the idea behind Evolve was incredible, but when you come out on
yep,
launch day and you've got $134 worth of DLC on top of a $60 price tag, that doesn't work. That works in a free-to-play game, you know, where people can purchase
yeah.
cosmetics, but it doesn't work for me in a $60 retail game. That doesn't check
What do
out.
you what do you think a DLC for this game would look like? Like a map, perhaps, or skins? I
Looking
what kind of DLC would make this game not appealing to you or less appealing?
the same kind of DLC that they did with Evolve. I mean, they locked
Just like
characters and
characters and
like
stuff?
monsters and stuff like that, like core gameplay elements behind DLC paywalls.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's right. Not in a $60 game. You know? Even Call
Yeah.
of Duty being being as terrible as it's been with DLC in the past. They've hit a point now where they're giving out free maps, you know? They're they
Right.
have guns as part of the battle pass or whatever that you can unlock, but you can unlock those guns for free anyways, you know? So all the stuff that you're paying for there is skins. It's all cosmetic. It's nothing that's going to have a direct impact on the game. And I think that
So,
unless this game goes that direction and it's all cosmetic, this is going to be a pass from me.
okay. I mean, that's fair enough. I understand. What price would this game have to go to for you to consider it at if it does go this DLC route?
I think if it goes the DLC route, I think it's going to receive similar backlash to Evolve, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, if on launch day it has $130 or more worth of like actual game impacting DLC, I can't see any way that people don't get angry about that. Especially if
Oh,
they
they
have to pay
yeah, of
$60
course.
for it. I
As
think
they
for most
should.
people at $20, I think they'd accept it. Realistically,
Yeah.
maybe even 30, you know? But even PUBG that came out as a $30 game didn't have like paid cosmetic DLC until I want to say a year after its early access release. So let's say it would have been somewhere around there.
When people started playing their game and they realized they could cash out on it.
Yeah. But I mean, I have 900 hours on PUBG, you know? Like
Yeah.
that's a $30 game. I got that much playtime out of it, and like it was still that long before I had to buy any DLC. That like at this point it's greed. This is a
Yeah.
game that will sell copies because people love Left 4 Dead. It will sell copies, you know?
Yep.
Like and it will sell a lot of copies if it's good. But if they come
Uh,
out and there's terrible DLC practices and like predatory practices inside of this game that are intended to prey on the minds of consumers, that's wrong, and I hope it flops.
they're gonna add a battle pass for for Left 4 Dead. Just like
I actually like the battle pass. Personally, I think battle
kill
passes are awesome. But
kill this many enemies and get yourself a new T-shirt.
so
Uh,
I mean that's Back for Blood. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully they don't make terrible choices with downloadable content, but that is yet to be seen. The next one on our list is one that I am a little bit excited for personally, the Callisto Protocol, coming
mm,
2022. Dead Space vibes, like heavy Dead Space vibes. You know, real
yeah,
spooky trailer. Like when I saw this, I actually thought that it might be another Dead Space. When I was
that's
just
what I
watching
thought
it,
too.
I was like, oh, they're actually doing it. I was legit just talking about how much I wanted another Dead Space.
I
But
know. I thought this. I was like, this is crazy. We were just talking about Dead Space.
yeah,
Like, it's here, and then it was that other game. But It looks crazy, man. It's got a dope trailer. No gameplay yet, but I didn't see that coming. I didn't think it was gonna be like alien horror, sci-fi horror type deal. I was really caught off guard, but it welcomely.
I mean, what I can't even remember what the last sci-fi horror game was that we've gotten. I mean, it wouldn't have
Probably
been
like
Soma, was it?
Alien, right?
I think Soma came out
Or
after Alien.
was it Soma?
Alien
Okay.
Isolation is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It would have been one of those two games. Both of those games are incredible, by the way. But the CEO of Striking Distance Studios, who is making this game, actually also worked on Dead Space. So
yeah. Oh,
there's a little bit of pedigree there. There's a little bit of expertise in that area, and
do you
I'm
think
excited to see what this is like.
yeah, me too. Do you think it could perhaps be like a game set in the same universe? Like there's gonna be some Dead Space lore?
Unless they're rubbing shoulders with EA, there's no way. EA is
Oh,
way too
right. Never.
protective of
No,
their
they're
IPs.
not.
Yeah,
They're not.
I mean,
No way.
and it's an IP that EA still hasn't let go of yet. And I know that EA has probably been one of the best about supporting indie developers and stuff like that, and like really being like willing to work with the new guy, but not as far as giving away their IPs.
Yeah, no. Never mind. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Hey, I mean,
unfortunately, the law getting in the way of things.
maybe it'll turn up as a maybe not better franchise than Dead Space, but a contender.
Hey, if
We'll
it
see.
does,
Only
more power to them. I wish they would.
seriously.
I wish Dead Space 3 had
As
been a
do
better
I.
Dead Space, but here we are, waiting for somebody else to do it better.
I wish every game that came out just one up to the game before it. Imagine that would be, what a beautiful world we'd live in.
You know, we are going to be talking about one game later that I think did exactly that in our Game of the Year
Yeah,
segment, and I'm excited to talk about it honestly because I think it's a game that flew under a lot of people's radars coming up soon. So the next game we're talking about is Warhammer 40k Dark Tide. Have you played Warhammer Vermintide, by the way?
never. I haven't, but
Oh,
I've seen it.
Warhammer Vermintide is incredible. It's so good. I mean,
Let's play it.
you, I'm down. I've got both of
You
them.
own
I
it?
have
How much
one
is this
and
game?
two.
Is it
I would say it's on sale on Steam. It goes on sale for less than $10. But I say buy
I'll buy
buy the
2
second one.
tonight, dude.
It is so much fun. You run around with like medieval weapons. You have a couple of character abilities, and you just like violently cut down like swarms of enemies. Like, and it is like graphic. Like it is
Those little
terribly
rat dudes,
violent.
right?
I mean, yeah, you're cutting off limbs, and there's blood spraying everywhere, and you got a bunch of weapons and gear that you can find in varied levels, and there's kind of a story there, but it doesn't matter because you're there for the violence, and it's there. And it's
Uh,
visceral, and it's awesome. And personally, I love the Warhammer 40k universe. I love sci-fi. I love space stuff. I'm 100% here for this. Kenny Chi in the chat says he already told you about
he
Vermintide, so that's
did
your
a
fault that you
while
haven't
ago,
bought it
yeah.
yet. But there is a
I'm
Warhammer
looking for
40.
friends. Cut me some slack here.
I'll be your friend, no worries. There's a Warhammer 40k game, a sci-fi Vermintide, and I want it, and I'm here for it, and I can't wait. It's from Fat Shark, the same devs who did Warhammer Vermintide 2. It's going to be 4-player co-op. It's going to be super violent. There's going to be all new weapons and tons of enemies, and I am going to buy this game.
All right, then I guess I'm buying it too. And then we can really just have the full experience together. You can show me what
Absolutely.
what Warhammer's all about. All right.
Yeah, this
In
is
fact, I might buy the second one tonight because I have been thinking about getting that game for a while. It looks really cool. I just want if you guys want to play, hit me up. Let's play.
Devin Kronk on Twitch wants to play
Yeah,
Warhammer Vermintide. If
I want to
anybody is
play
out
with
there who
you.
wants to play. So another new trailer also dropped for the game called Outriders, which this is another like looter shooter type game, if you will. And they finally dropped a release date for it. It's coming out on February 2nd, 2021. So that's just 2 months out. And this is one that I have had my eye on for a little while because, as many of you know, I am casually addicted to progression in video games. And I love seeing my numbers go up, and I love getting new loot and scratching the itch every time. Legendary beam shoots up into the sky in Diablo 3. All that's all my vibe. I love it. So I am hoping that this game is better than Godfall was because I loved and enjoyed Godfall, but like
Yeah,
realistically, that's like a 6 out of 10 game. I had so much fun with it, and the co-op was cool, and the combat was flashy, and probably the best graphics of a game that I've had on my computer to date, honestly. But
I think if they add more content to that game, it'll be like an easy 8. Like it could potentially bump itself up in time.
you know what I think
I feel
Godfall
the same
needs?
way about it.
I think it needs a roguelike dungeon in Godfall.
That yes, that would be so sick. Just loot dropping everywhere.
Yep. Loot dropping, infinite floors, power ups that you get on each floor. With that combat system and those graphics, perfect. That's a
Yes,
recipe for
dude.
success.
Those
But
little
any,
particles that fly off when you kill people, man, that's my favorite part of that game, just those
it's
little.
beautiful.
Yeah, it really is, there's something about it.
Yeah. And I'm excited for Outriders, but this is one that I'm going to go ahead and wait on, see how it goes.
Mhm.
Um, Outside of their main franchises, Square Enix's games have been a little hit or miss, and I believe this one is from Square Enix. Say I'm gonna double check real quick, but Outriders. I'm giving it a quick Google
Out
search, but developed by People Can Fly, published by Square Enix.
right.
So I mean, I look at this and I'm like, after the Avengers debacle, I'm kind of 50-50 on live service games coming out of Square Enix.
Yeah, well, you know, I wouldn't compare it to the Avengers though, like, I don't think anybody expected it to go that way with the Avengers, like, with this game, we know, like, this is how this is going. You can expect this. I think with Avengers, we were like, "Okay, just give us a really cool narrative, open world maybe type thing where we just get to play as our favorite superheroes, and Thor's hammer doesn't sound like a wet paper towel hitting a wall, and
Pretty
we're
much.
good." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta bring that up every time.
Exactly, because it's terrible. I mean, the
Yeah.
sound design is a huge question mark, and it's important in video games, and you have to get it right. Um, but I mean,
But yeah, Outriders looks cool. That's where I'm at.
yeah, good trailer. Glad that there's a release date. Glad that it's coming soon. Excited to have some games to fill in the kind of gaming drought that usually persists between the months of like February and May. I feel like that's
Yeah,
usually a slow
totally.
month for gaming, so I'm hoping this will get a chance to shine in an area where there won't be a lot of other games coming out.
It's
The
I wish I could give, like, a stronger opinion on it, but some of these trailers that don't have gameplay, it's kinda like it's hard to say, you know?
and I mean that's
This one.
I think that's why I'm so skeptical of it too. Is we haven't seen enough of
Yeah.
it yet for how close it is. Like by
Because I'm
now, most
kinda
games would have had
scrubbing
a
through the
beta.
trailer here, and I'm seeing, like, stuff that almost looks like it could be gameplay, but most of it, I don't know. Not anything that would determine or rather set any opinions for me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like I have to see more of this game. It's only 2 months out. Like, how much more are they gonna do before the game comes out? We're gonna get a launch trailer, but even talking about Destiny, and that was a game that was definitely bigger than this game. Had a beta, like I want to say a few months before release, like 6 months ish. I'm talking about Destiny 1 here, so we are scratching like the very back of my memory at this point, and my memory is already not good. But I remember playing a beta for that game before it came out, and it was a lot farther out than this is. So where's the beta? Where's the testing? Where's the gameplay that we can look at? It's going to be
Dude,
interesting to see how it
we
comes
skip
out.
betas nowadays, alright? We go straight to release and let everybody complain about our games so we can update it later. That's where we're at in gaming right
It's
now.
like the astronaut meme, where it's like, wait, every game is an early access game. Always
Yeah.
has been. Always has been.
Exactly.
The next one on our list is one that I'm expecting to come out with a fair amount of polish. That's also coming out in an area of the year that's typically gaming drought time, but Monster Hunter Rise. And I'm gonna let you talk about this one because I am not a Monster Hunter player. I don't enjoy the games. I respect them, and I think that they're great games, but they're not for me. So tell us a little
Monster
bit about
Hunter,
it.
a wonderful game. So it's in Monster Hunter, you've never heard of it or played it, the premise is you're a hunter, you pick your weapon, you go out, you kill some monsters, and then you use the loot you get from those monsters to make more weapons and armor. Um, this new Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter Rise, comes out March 26th, 2021, and it looks awesome. First of all, it's on the Switch. I'm a sucker for Switch titles. If something comes out on my Switch, I want it. Like it I just like playing on my Switch. I don't know, something about handheld stuff makes me a little happy. But aside from that, they're apparently adding like every monster ever into this game, which they did with Ultimate, I think was the name of it. But um there was a new mechanic they added in Rise too, and I'm pretty certain it's a remake of one of the older Monster Hunters, but that's about all I know about this game. It'll be Monster Hunter, same stuff, killing monsters, getting loot, crafting some flashy gear.
Awesome.
just eliminating the whole monster's bloodline, causing mass extinction, disturbing the ecosystem, just things hunters do.
That sounds kind of scary. Okay. I mean, just wiping out an entire species from existence. But I mean, I look at games like these and I'm like, I can appreciate what this means for other people. Monster Hunter's
Yeah.
been one of those games. You mentioned Apex Legends. We were talking before the podcast earlier today about Apex Legends a little bit, and he said watching people play this who are good at it makes me want to play it. But then I play it, and I'm like, never mind.
Yep.
And Monster Hunter is that game for me. Like as someone who is decent at Apex Legends, like I play games like Monster Hunter, and I get into the grind, and I have to sharpen my weapon every time because I hit the monster in areas that dull my blade faster because I'm ignorant when I hunt monsters. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I have no more desire to play this game. I don't want to have to cook meals. I want to just go out there and swing my weapon at stuff and kill it, or not kill it, as the case usually is, because I'm terrible. But I mean, they're beautiful games. Monster Hunter World was incredible. I think it ran pretty well on PC after a few updates.
Yeah.
But like playing that game on consoles, I was surprised at how good it looked, honestly, because I feel like at least until about I would actually say until Monster Hunter World came out, a lot of the games that come out of like Japan don't have nearly as much of a focus on like graphics as a lot of the Western games. I think
Mhm.
they nailed the gameplay, they nailed the RPG aspects a lot better, but they kind of fall behind in some of the graphical departments. Looking at like games like the Tales series, looking at games like even Final Fantasy before like Final Fantasy 13, comparatively, I would say like
Right.
was not quite up to par. But the new Final Fantasy coming out looks incredible. And then I see Monster Hunter World come out, and this was a game that I actually bought and sunk about 20 hours into, even as somebody who hates Monster Hunter games.
Really?
Just
I didn't know
yeah.
you put that much time into it.
Yeah, and it was 20 hours of suffering and being terrible and making mistakes and not having any idea what I was doing. But I mean, I had a pretty good time just looking at the game and experiencing it and going out and hunting monsters. Like the easy ones were cool. And I
Yeah.
love the environments and how all of like the different areas feed into each other and like the whole ecosystem and chasing monsters from one section of the map to another section of the map. Like it's so well thought out. And if this is any way comparable to Monster Hunter World, I think it's going to be a great game, or even more so Monster Hunter Generations, which I've heard is also excellent.
I mean, honestly, like they Monster Hunter is always gonna be the same thing. Like nothing's ever gonna change with Monster Hunter. So the people like I mean, hopefully don't change anything, please, because everybody likes it the way it is, okay? Please. Just leave it alone. So what I'm getting to is like I as someone who likes Monster Hunter, a new Monster Hunter title is typically something I can always enjoy. I see that and I know what I'm gonna get. It's not gonna be like something that's gonna catch me off guard. At most, like throughout the years, all they've added is like a few new weapons and like different mechanics, like weapon skills and stuff. That's like really the two biggest changes in the game. Maybe new monsters, but none of that's bad. It's just adding to it. Like keep your gameplay formula the same and you'll keep people happy. So I'm excited for Rise. It'll be more of the same thing that I enjoy.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I feel
That's
that.
right.
I feel that. This next one was a head scratcher for me when this announcement came up, and I just want to talk about it because I thought it was weird. There is a Just Cause mobile isometric shooter coming out. Do you care at all? Have
No,
you played Just Cause?
I played Just Cause 2.
Okay, so Just Cause 2 was incredible, first of all.
Yeah, that was a wonderful game. I loved Just Cause 2.
I also thought Just Cause 3 was absolutely incredible. Like,
That was the one with the grappling hook that could
yes.
reel stuff in, right? Okay. Yeah, I like that one too. I never beat that one, but I remember playing it.
Just Cause 4, kind of a flop, but still pretty
Never played.
decent from what I gathered. I didn't play it, just because I feel like I had experienced all that the franchise had to offer when I played 3, at least looking at the gameplay for 4. Outside
Yeah.
of there being like a tornado in the game, I guess, which cool, but tornadoes are scary. I don't want to do that. And I look at this and I'm like, who is this for? You know, like who is asking for a mobile isometric Just Cause shooter?
The
No one.
whoever's running stuff over at the production studio for Just Cause is just like over 80 years old or something, and they're like, "Oh, people like mobile games. Give them a mobile game." Like, just give us. I'd rather have another Just Cause, or like maybe a remaster of 2. That would be cool.
And we talked a little bit about the Square Enix thing here, but Just Cause has been developed by Avalanche Studios, who is under Square Enix. Just Cause is another Square Enix published
Ah,
game. So, you know, we're talking about how Square Enix is on a little bit of rocky ground here, and I mean, I look at things like this and I'm like, is this where Square Enix is headed? Looking at their Final Fantasy mobile games and things like that they put out, I don't know, man. The Kingdom Hearts mobile game, I'm not convinced. You know, I look at stuff
CEO
like
is
this and I'm like,
61 years old.
neat, but what's the point? You know, like I get that
Yeah.
mobile games make a lot of money, but this feels very uninspired. It feels like a cash grab, and I'm hoping it's cool, but I mean, I'm probably not gonna play it.
Pass. I'm
Yeah.
good. Thanks though.
So the last game on our list of announcements is one that I'm actually pretty excited for now, more than I thought I would be, honestly. A Ruined King. It's set in the League of Legends universe. It's a single player game. It's a turn based RPG. It's going to have some 3D like isometric world exploration, and then like you can have a lot of different party members join your game.
Mhm.
And this is one that I'm surprised to be excited for because I played my first game of League of Legends in about 10 years last week,
Really?
and yeah, yeah. Some
Wow.
buddies were playing League of Legends and they were like, "Vince, you doing anything? You want to play with us?" And I said, "No, but I'm downloading it." Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and
That's how
I
it goes with the league.
and I downloaded League of Legends and I played a few games. I played Garen and Malphite top lane because I used to
Nice.
play Darius top, and like I did okay. I mean, I was in pretty low MMR because my account level is incredibly low because I didn't enjoy it the first time I played. So I got to have some fun slapping around people who had no idea what they were doing for a few games, and like I look at something like this, and even just loading into League of Legends and looking at all the characters and how much work they put into all of the characters and the skins and the animations that they do and like their little like trailers for the game and all that stuff, like
Yeah.
this is a studio that has a lot of money to put into an incredible game and a
Mhm.
universe that has been already built up with a lot of deep lore for all of these characters that they've taken the time to make for the people who care about that sort of thing. And I am excited to see what they can do with the people who are incredibly talented at their studio who have made such a polished and well thought out game as League of Legends in a single player RPG environment with all of the foundation they've set up for their universe.
What's really cool to me is the fact that you're just gonna get more background on these characters that you already know and love from a franchise that's been established for a little bit now. And like I I think they took out the in the league there used to be lore pages on like every champion's profile in like the shop or if you viewed them, and you could kind of like get like this little summary of their life and how they ended up in the Summoner's Rift or whatever.
Hmm.
And I believe they took that out after a little bit because they were like, "Oh, nobody cares about this." But I thought that stuff was so cool. I love lore, so like I don't know. This game is really cool to me for that reason. Like I League lore is sick, and I'm sure that they'll put some really cool stories into it as long as they don't butcher the gameplay. I think it'll be a pretty solid game.
I uh I look at something like this and I can't help but think of all of the shorts that they do for characters in Overwatch. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And that's kind of like the same deal almost. Like they give these characters these like huge lore stories, but at the end of the day, when you play the game, it's like I'm just shooting people.
Yeah.
Kind of like with League, you're doing whatever you do in League, but it's cool. It's a hot take. They should do that with Overwatch too.
Yeah, I believe they actually are putting a campaign into Overwatch too. But I mean, I'm
That's
hoping
sick.
that they can invoke a lot of the same emotion behind the characters that the shorts for Overwatch did, realistically.
Yeah.
Because, like, one second, sorry, I got a cough real quick.
You're good.
Excuse me. There was a short for Overwatch that had Brigitte and Reinhardt in it, and
Yeah, I
because
think I
they're
saw that
both
one.
from the same area, and she's a Shield maiden, and obviously he's like one of their warriors. I don't know what his official title is, but I love Reinhardt's character personally, and like there was so much incredible music and artwork and emotion behind that entire thing and the way that they interact with each other and getting to see the characters in an environment like that outside of just the, oh, we're shooting at each other and this is just a game thing. And
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to see what these people can do with their storytelling and put some emotion behind some of these characters that people have known and developed attachments to and played as, just like as an extension of them, and see
Yeah.
these as more of
Totally.
actual characters in a story of their own. And I'm
Eh,
super excited to see where they take it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's why I enjoyed that League lore so much because when I was in middle school, like early high school, I played a lot of League. That was like my main game. And it having those like lore pages and before I buy a champ, I can like read about him and be like, "Yeah, this guy's awesome." And then you play as him and you're like, "Dude, I'm the guy that like killed a whole village to save my wife or something." Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's just it gives it a different like feeling when you play the character.
yeah, it really does. And I think that very quickly you can get attached to a character who you're seeing their story,
Yeah,
you know? Like you're
makes
seeing
them
what
relatable.
made them who they are. You're seeing their journey. You're seeing more into their personal life. Um, one of the best examples of this, and like this is gonna be my last like sidebar before we move on. A lot of you know I play World
Mhm.
of Warcraft. I play a ton of World of Warcraft, and I tell you, man, these last two expansions, narratively, what Blizzard has done with the story in these games, and I'm not talking about the overall, like, arcing story, because there have been some major plot holes that they have just left unanswered and don't seem like they have any intention of going back to, and I have a lot of questions about that. But, like, the small stories inside of each individual quest and things like that. So, in the new expansion, there are 4 covenants that you can choose from. I chose Kyrian on my main character. That's who I've been playing as. And one of the quest lines, you're basically ferrying souls into the afterlife. Um, and based on like the deeds that they've done in their life, they get to go to one of the 4 covenants and basically become part of that. So the Kyrian are like the good people, the like the people for justice and all that stuff, like very holy, like paladin type characters, you know? Like that's kind of the epitome of
Yeah.
them. And you come across one guy and you are witnessing his final moments on this earth as part of the story. And you're judging whether or not he is worthy to be a Kyrian, which is that covenant. And you get to see the last few moments of his life. And essentially what happens is he's going around and he's just a farmer, you know, in one of the towns, like one of the early towns in the game that you go through as you're leveling. And his family lives there and he's out there, you know, like killing animals to provide meat for his family. He's out there like digging ditches to put whatever in there. I don't know what exactly he was doing digging ditches, but you had to do it. And just doing his duties. And then all of a sudden you hear word that there's a scourge invasion coming, that there are zombies about to attack his town. So you're going around and you're boarding up all the windows and you're telling people to get inside and you're telling your family to get inside. And then the zombies attack. And then, like, you're there and you're killing zombies as much as you can and there's just too many of them. And eventually you just get overwhelmed and die. And that's the end of this guy's life, was that he was boarding up his town and trying to protect his family with a shovel and a gun, you know?
Oh 07.
And and
Tragic, dude.
and they deem him worthy, you know? And I look at things like that
As
that are
they
just like
should.
small moments in a video game and it's like, man, that is so emotional, you know? And I'm
And who
excited to
even
see
is
what
this
they do.
farmer?
He's
You
a
you
nobody in the
just
universe.
some guy, yeah,
He's a
and they
nobody.
crafted this awesome story out of it. That's yeah, exactly.
And
I see exactly what you mean.
I look at Riot Games and I'm like, if anyone has the pedigree to create stuff on that level, it's them. And I
Yeah,
cannot wait to see what this game has in store. Again, that's Ruined King. It's set in the League of Legends universe. It's coming out eventually, who knows when, but I'm excited for it.
as am I. I think it'll be really cool.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It is real Game of the Year awards time. Official, bona fide, 100% facts. The only Game of the Awards that matter. Game of the Awards. The only Game of the Year awards that matter. Here
Game
it
of the
is.
awards.
Yes, Game of the Awards. Officially. You heard it here first. We're going to go straight
All
into
right.
it. I think, we'll talk about the Game of the Year, like the full Game of the Year last. We'll go over that one last. So let's jump into
Okay.
RPGs. The best RPGs of 2020. The first game on the list is Neo 2. And
Yeah, two.
have you played this one?
No, watched
Okay.
you play it though.
Well, you watched me play the first Neo,
Or
which was
Neo.
also
Yeah, yeah, it
incredible.
was
Yeah.
first Neo.
Yeah, it was excellent. This is one that I haven't played myself, but I had to include it because I watched gameplay of it, and the only reason I haven't played it yet is because it's coming out for PC this year. It was exclusive to PlayStation 4 before that. It might have come out on Xbox One, I'm not sure, but like I know for sure it was on PlayStation 4. I believe only PlayStation 4, and these games are awesome. It is Dark
That's
Souls
fog.
Diablo, but you're a samurai. It's super cool. You know?
Yes, dude.
The art
If that's
style,
coming to PC, I'm buying it.
it is. It is, and it's going to be
That's
awesome.
super pog.
The art style is excellent. The gameplay is polished. It's fast. It's fluid. The RPG elements are fantastic. All of the loot is interesting and varied and has different stats and different like affixes and things that it can do for you. And I mean, this game is so brilliant and it's so perfectly realized this is one of my favorites for RPG of the year for last year. Honestly, I love this series, and I hope it continues going forward.
Damn, your favorite.
Yeah, I mean,
This is
on my list right here for RPGs, this is my favorite for game of the
yeah.
year.
All right, I can. You know what? Let's go into the next one.
All right,
Genshin Impact. This is a gotcha game that came out this year where you are just some angel dude in a world collecting anime girls and boys for your party to clear dungeons and make friends. I don't know. I never got too far in Genshin Impact. That was the gist of it for me.
this is a
But
game that I think needed to be on here, but not a game that I think is game of the
yeah,
year. I think
yeah,
it
I
deserves its
wouldn't.
place
It
here.
was massively popular,
I don't
but
know.
not
I
for me.
It's definitely massively popular, but for me, Breath of the Waifus is just like it's a glorified mobile game at this point.
Breath of the
And
waifus.
yeah, credit where credit's due. I mean, Gladys,
I've never.
my wife's friend, let's say, I think her name is Lemon Drop Girl on Twitch now. She changed it recently. I believe that's what it is, but I'll have to double check on that so I can give her a proper shout out. But like,
That is
like,
so
yeah,
good,
yeah,
dude.
I think she was the one that said that first.
Breath of the waifus.
But
All right, Genshin Impact. I'm calling it that from here on out forever. You started something.
yeah, I don't know, man. It again, I think this is a game that deserves to be on here. Um,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
I'm not. It is Honey Drop Girl. Okay, I wanted to make
Yep.
sure I had that right. I just had to go check her Twitter real quick. But it's a game that deserves to be on here, but it's not my favorite. It's not something that I enjoyed a whole lot, just because I don't like mobile game mechanics. You know, I
I
look
just
at
got
this
bored
and
quick.
yeah,
For like I played it and I kind of liked it for a few days and then I hit this point where I was like I don't what do I do, spend money now? Like I don't, no thanks, I'm good.
I definitely feel like it improved on a lot of things that Breath of the Wild did wrong, and I respect it for that, and I think that's good. But I feel like it took a big step back in a lot of areas, and I think it had to as well because it is a free to play game. But I think they took it a little bit too far with
Yeah,
how much you have to pay for. So
I
I
think if they took that part out of the game and maybe instead just like
let the game
I don't know,
stand on its
maybe
own merits and have proper progression.
yeah, like if you wanted a follower, maybe go out of your way to do a quest line or even like a grind for them maybe instead of like having to put money into a machine and randomly get it. Like I don't like that stuff. So
I don't like any game where the strongest item in the game is your debit card. So
yeah,
realistically, I
exactly.
mean, looking at something like this, if this had come out without the same like practices that it had monetary wise, you know, as far as how much they expect you to spend on the game and how much you need to buy to be able to be competitive in it, or to progress at a decent rate, this would be one of my contenders for game of the year personally, because I actually really did enjoy the gameplay and the world that they created, but everything else
Mhm,
turned me off of it completely.
I agree.
Yeah,
Feel the exact same way. The combat in that game was very fun.
very. Yeah,
I liked that. Very
yeah,
simple, but like just it worked.
yeah. Doesn't need to be complicated,
Yeah,
so,
exactly. It was
especially
just
if people are going to be playing it on mobile.
beautifully simplistic.
Yeah,
And the particles looked great. Had nice graphics
we
for like an anime game.
we do love particles. I'll say
Yeah, we
it's the
do. I
RGB of
love
graphics. You love particles,
love
you know.
particles. Yes.
All right. The next game on our list is Wasteland 3. This is one that I actually did play. Not for very long, just because like too many games to play at once. Honestly,
Yeah.
um, that and like games with this much like strategy base building type of deal. Like even though I love XCOM and XCOM 2, I think those are fantastic games. Like I can't play them for very long because I just get overwhelmed with how much stuff I have to manage.
All
But
right.
the story in this game and the writing and the combat and like even the graphics, it looked pretty good for an isometric like CRPG type of game, kind of like a Divinity, if you will, like
Mhm.
turn based. It's closest to XCOM, I would say, but
I
a
almost
lot more
bought the
narrative.
game
Y-
like recently. I almost bought it like 2 days ago and then I didn't.
So
Is it worth it?
it's on Game Pass for PC. It's included in that, but
Ah,
which you still
haunts me.
haven't gotten yet. But
Yeah, it haunts me
um,
every time.
I think this game is awesome, man. Like it
Okay.
is so funny and the humor is there and it's pretty violent if you're into like graphic violence for any reason. I don't know if that's your thing, but I think this is a game that's very well realized. It's one of the best like top-down RPGs that came out this year, probably the best one that came out this year. And it's a lot of fun. And I think that it's a really good time if you like strategy and tactical thinking and squad-based like isometric, turn-based games.
I might check it out then because it looked good. I was tempted. I was really tempted, and then you know what it was? It had negative Steam reviews, and that makes me nervous sometimes. I I know it shouldn't, but
I
it
wonder
deterred
why.
me.
I wonder why
I
it
was
had
like,
negative Steam
I didn't
reviews.
want it that bad, and then I see negative Steam reviews, and I'm like, all right, maybe I'll wait a little bit.
I know it had some
Ugh.
performance issues on launch and like a lot of bugs and stuff like that, but I think those have been mostly ironed out now.
Yeah,
So,
well, Steam will never let go of that. Cyberpunk's gonna eternally have negative reviews
yeah, no
because
kidding.
of that reason, which segues us into our next game for RPG Game of the Year, Cyberpunk 2077. Um, did you purchase this game? Have you spent
I
any time
did.
with it?
I did,
Oh,
actually. I say I wasn't planning on it and then I got COVID and had plenty of free time. So,
tell me about it, please. I haven't discussed this with you yet. I want to hear you talk about this game.
this is a beautiful game. I'm glad I got it on PC. I think that if you have a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, then this should be in contention for the worst game that came out in
Yeah.
2020. If you bought this on an older console, then you purchased Cyberpunk 2077 PowerPoint Edition, and that's fine. You're only going to be watching it one frame at a time, and I think that's terrible. I think they shouldn't have released it on old consoles. Um, but as far as the game on PC, which I think is what this game was designed for, honestly, was to be played on high-end PCs, and I think that this is a game that we're not going to see the true value of until about 3 or 4 years out when PCs can run it properly with the new hardware that's out. But graphically, I don't think we've seen anything on this level. Gameplay wise, I think it fell short a little bit in a few areas. But
Hmm.
as far as the RPG elements, I was a little disappointed that so far, at least early on in the story, because I've sunk about 16 hours into it, and then I'm just kind of waiting for it to have some bug fixes and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I look at this game and it's beautiful, you know. But
I
every time
I
I'm in
love the
combat, I'm just like, okay, this is fine, you know.
yeah, totally. It's funny you say that because I've got over like 60 hours in this game at this point, and I beat my first playthrough, and I still wanted more of this game because I'm really enjoying it. I like the dialogue. I like the immersion I feel in the city. Bugs aside, um, it I started a new playthrough recently and I made my difficulty very hard because which is the hardest difficulty. And that's because in Cyberpunk, I feel like they almost made the combat way too easy.
Hmm.
Like even now on very hard, I'm like 10 hours into this playthrough and I've done a little bit of the side stuff. I've got my street cred and my level up a little bit and my build's coming along and I feel like I'm already getting to this point where I'm not even feeling threatened, which is the whole idea behind me wanting to play on the hardest difficulty because in every scenario I ever got in, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna brute force this because nobody can stop me. Like I I'm unstoppable. And I figured, okay, maybe very hard will make me a little less of a force. I'll have to think about what I'm saying or search for alternate routes into different places and stuff. But maybe for like the first couple hours when you don't have any armor, good weapons. But if you just stealth it out until then and you're good. I got this one gun. It's like a pulse rifle, and it just like one shots everybody. Anyways, it's pretty ridiculous. That's
So
that's my biggest gripe. I think.
as much as I did say that the combat is just fine and it seems kind of plain, I actually am really enjoying it right now. And I'm just playing on
Oh,
normal difficulty, but let me tell you why. I am only using blades.
oh
And
yeah,
not the
that
arm blades. Let's see, I am using a katana and a dagger, like a knife, like a short knife.
that's
And
yeah. I did that my first playthrough
yeah.
to spice it up. Like halfway through, that's when I was like, guns are getting whatever. I'm gonna just grab this katana and go in. And the stat tree for, or excuse me, the perk tree for blades is really cool. Like there's
It's
some cool
so
stuff you
fun.
can do.
It's
Yeah,
so fun, you know? Increased chance to apply bleeds. What is it? Like anytime you hit a target that's bleeding, you get a heal, something like that.
yeah.
Like it's
Or
it's
like
brilliant. honestly.
counters give you 200% health back or something. Like there's some absurd stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to be famous?
Oh yeah, yeah. We love the bots here. Thank you so much for that. I mean, I think that this is a beautiful game that honestly needed another 6 months to a year in the oven.
I'm so like if I could rate it right now, I'd probably give it like a solid like 8 on PC. And
Yeah.
if and like you said, if it just had a little more time, maybe the narrative was a little more fleshed out and not as on I feel like it's a little on tracks, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel as open-ended as they made it seem to be, but it seems to be the theme with this game is a lot of undelivered promises, but I'm still enjoying it very thoroughly.
But at the
You
same
have a
time,
PC, very fun.
I think it's okay for a game to be on tracks. I don't see an
It's
issue with
yeah,
that personally. For it being an open world game and the open world part of it being the ability to go explore and do side missions and everything else everywhere that you go, I think that's fine. I
I
think it's
think they
okay
should have
for the
made
narrative to be as directed as it is, as much as I
I
would
don't
like more
know.
choices.
Yeah, totally. I don't know how many side missions you've completed, but some of those side missions like feel like they should be main missions too. Like
Yeah.
I think it really takes away from the story if you don't do those main missions alongside the main story. Pro
Well,
tip, if you're playing Cyberpunk, don't skip over the side missions. I'm sure you won't, but just don't. It's not worth it.
and that's a very familiar theme from CD Projekt Red in general. I mean, I don't know how much you played of The Witcher
It's
3,
true.
but
Yeah.
every single side mission felt like it could have been its own video game, honestly.
Mm.
They were so well fleshed out and well realized. I mean, these guys know what they're doing, honestly.
And they did it again. The side quests in Cyberpunk, some of those side quest missions are more fun than the main missions. Like they're good.
Yeah. Some insight into how my personal rating scale works. Essentially, when a game releases in a disastrous state, as this game did, I subtract 2 points just for bugs. This game would be a 9
Okay.
out of 10 for me, assuming everything worked properly. Because of the state that it's in right now, I give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think it's a good
I'd agree
game,
with you,
but it needs
honestly.
work. It needs a lot of work and a lot of love, and they'll give it to it.
On a on a lighter note, I saw this like funny meme. I might have saved it. I don't know. I'll send it to you later, but for anyone who's listening, essentially what it was like it was like PC players when their games don't port over perfectly, and it's just like them kind of like with their it's like this picture of this dude and he's kind of sad, and then it's like it's all console players when their game doesn't port correctly, and it's just like one game, which is Cyberpunk, and it's just like this dude like losing, going ballistic.
Just screaming, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
just
feel.
shout out to you raging console players out there.
And but to be fair, like as much as we shouldn't make death threats, as much as we shouldn't overreact or be crazy, they have a right to be unhappy about the state that their game released in.
It's true.
And I understand your perspective. And as far as I'm concerned, you guys are right to be upset if you purchased this game and got what you got. So,
If I
personal
only
opinion.
had a console and I was really excited for Cyberpunk, I would be mad too.
All right.
But I don't, so
Yeah.
haha.
Haha. All right. So I think it's glaringly apparent what my choice is for RPG Game of the Year here. And it's Neo 2. That is my pick, and I stand by that. Realistically, if Cyberpunk had released in the state that it should have released in, you know,
Yeah.
if this game had another year of work and somehow came out in 2020, that would be my game of the year for RPGs. But it didn't. It came out and it
So
was a mess. So that's
I
I got to go with
honestly
Neo
like
2.
out of those 4, Neo 2 sounds great, but I don't think I've seen enough of it to like be like, yeah, that's my game of the year. Out of all of these, I've had the most fun with Cyberpunk, honestly. And even though it's not in a state that's very appreciative right now, it's ran great on my computer. I've had fun with it. My personal game of the year for RPG is going to be Cyberpunk.
We have a split decision here for RPG Game of the Year. So what we've done here is we're giving out 2 Game of the Year awards for RPGs.
2.
Both Neo
Oh,
and Cyberpunk 2077 are the RPG Game of the Year. What a delight.
and you know what? Let me watch a few YouTube videos after the podcast of Neo 2, and I'm sure I'd change my mind. But right now, I feel like it would be a little eh, I just I can't send it like that without knowing the full beauty of Neo 2.
Fair enough. I
It could be a
understand.
dumpster fire and I wouldn't even know it. I'm sure it's not, but like
It's not. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
But
not,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you know what I mean.
I understand. I do. I say, sure, you said cues applause. Yes, we need to get a clap track. I didn't even think about that. Next year we'll have one for the Game of the Year awards, and we do that
We
again.
got it.
I got you.
Yeah.
We'll get lots of people cheering. It'll get rowdy up in here. Or I'll just have like 16 people stand in the room behind me, and I'll clap. Um,
Yeah.
Oh, also something else Shoria said earlier when we were talking about Outriders a little bit. I just want to mention this. I forgot earlier, but he said there was a clunky beta for Outriders on Xbox through the Insider program. Tried to get into it, but it kept crashing. Only for a few people had some success getting in. Not a good look at all.
Mocha
That's
S.
about what I expected to hear about a beta for that
Yep.
game. So hey, seems like I'm on the right track, waiting for that one to
Nail on
come
the
out.
head.
Continuing on with our Game of the Year awards, though, the next one is Action Game of the Year, and we got a few titles on here for this. So the first one up is Spider-Man Miles Morales. Have you played this?
I haven't. I've seen gameplay though.
Me neither. I say I watched our buddy Chunty play it. It's Chunty
Yeah,
on
me
Twitch.
too.
Check him out, cool dude. Um, and the game looks incredible. It looks awesome. I mean, did you
Yeah, it
play the
looks
first
great.
Spider-Man on
I
PS4?
did, yeah. Yeah.
Super good game.
And that it was really good. And this one was especially cool to me because it's Miles Morales.
Yeah,
He's rad and I don't know, like it's the same thing. It's Spider-Man PS4, but it's I don't know, what is that thing that they kept saying about that meme? It's like the exaggerated swag of a black teenager. That's exactly what they did with him. I love the different animations they gave for his web swinging and his his venom strikes with the lightning. They just took that awesome game and added cooler mechanics on it with a really cool character.
awesome. I think it's an excellent game. I think it looks beautiful. It runs great. Um, Somehow Insomniac, who are the developers for that game, have this way of squeezing every single ounce of power out of really old hardware and making things look and run way better than they should. And Naughty Dog gets a lot of credit for this, but I think that Insomniac Studios are one of the most underrated developers of like the last generation. Honestly, every game that I saw from them impressed me, and I,
What
I
was
really don't think they get enough credit.
Insomniac? What did they do before Spider-Man? Like one of their newer releases?
Sunset Overdrive would have been,
Sunset
yeah. That one
Overdrive,
came out on
dude.
Xbox, and it's essentially like Tony Hawk mixed with zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, that game was so interesting. I
I
knew it was something weird. That's why I had to ask.
I played that game to completion and like did all of the open world side missions and everything like that, and it was so good and so
Yeah,
fun and explosive. Man,
I never had an Xbox, but I always wanted to play that game. I thought that was such a sick looking game.
yeah, but I mean these guys have a long backlog and a long history of pedigree. I mean, they did Ratchet and Clank, they did Resistance, Song of the Deep, which was a really underrated Metroidvania game about undersea exploration. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, Ratchet and Clank, now Spider-Man, Sunset Overdrive. These guys have been around the block and they are incredible developers, and I love their work, and I'm excited to see what they going forward.
I agree.
Well, I'm gonna let you take the next one on the list because I haven't touched this at all, but
Okay.
I think it's a great game.
Next on our list of action games is Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is if you've played any of the newer Assassin's Creed games, Origins or Odyssey, it's the same formula. They're still trying to take it in that RPG route. And I will say that I think they're, in my opinion, building upon it, and it is the best it's been in any of in Origins or Odyssey. I feel like this game gave you more choice than either of those games, which is nice in an RPG. Um, or excuse me, the armor and the weapons, I guess, aren't just. It's not every enemy you kill gives you armor or weapons. It's they're actually like very hard to find or few and far between, and you have to upgrade what you get instead of just getting like a plethora of garbage that you just end up selling. I thought that was nice. um Story wise, I haven't beat it yet, but so far it's pretty engaging. There's something that happens in the game and it kind of drives the whole plot, and it's keeping me entertained. I played this game actually like 2 days ago, so I'm still playing it today almost. Yeah.
Wow. All
I
right.
like it. I'm having fun. And last thing, they kind of brought it back to the Assassin's Creed thing finally, which is cool because Odyssey, they didn't I don't know, in my opinion, Odyssey didn't do a whole lot with the Assassin stuff, which is funny because the franchise name is Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
But in this one, they actually kinda, like, intertwine the story in a very, like, seamless way, I would say.
that's awesome. I mean, that sounds like a good game. But I mean,
Yeah.
we are here voting on best action game here. So how was the combat? That's what
Oh,
I want to
yeah.
hear about. Tell me about the combat.
Combat's better than any of these other RPG Assassin's Creed games. Um, I feel like it kinda took it back with in the older ones, the whole counter kill thing. Um,
Okay.
it's similar to that, but it's got, like, the extra layer to it, which is the stun bar. So if you hit them enough times or hit them in weak points with your arrows, then they go into this stun state, and then you press a button and they die. And
Nice.
I like that. In an Assassin's Creed game, I think that's really cool because you're an assassin, you're a trained killer, and not to mention a Viking in this game, like, you should be able to just brutally execute people. And so I really enjoyed the combat in this one, more so than probably the last 4 or 5 Assassin's Creed games.
Wow. I mean, that sounds like quite a game. It's one that I haven't played myself. Usually I pick up Assassin's Creed games on sale for like 20 bucks whenever they hit 20. Then I'll pick one up or I'll just subscribe to Uplay Plus for a month if I really get the what is it, Ubisoft Play Now, I think might be what it's called now. Their
Yeah,
subscription
yeah,
service, which is apparently also supposed to be, and this is a bit of a rumor here, so don't take this as like gospel truth or anything, but it might also be joining Game Pass. Uh, just a heads up. So you'll have the
no.
entire Ubisoft library of
It
games
it haunts me, dude.
to join Game Pass as well. Um,
It's a
but
sign at this point.
yeah,
It
it sounds
really
like
is.
an excellent game. We'll see if
Yeah.
it'll hold up for Action Game of the Year against some of these other titles though, because we got a spicy couple coming up next, and the next game on our
Mhm.
list is Doom Eternal, and this is one that I will never stop advocating for. I love the Doom games. The most recent like reboot of Doom and then the sequel to the reboot. Doom Eternal is one of the best games that came out last year. And as far as action games go, I think that this is the gold standard. As far as
Mhm.
visceral, fast-paced combat, flashy moves, very, very violent, incredibly well-designed levels. Everything is fluid, everything is snappy, everything explosive and electric. That is the
Yeah.
word that I used to describe Doom Eternal was electric, and I stand by that. And I think that this is our strongest contender for the best action game that came out last year, hands down.
Yeah, totally. I never played Doom Eternal. I watched you play through the game, and even just watching Doom, it is absolutely electric. Like, you I couldn't stop watching. I was like, and it has that whole the what is it called when you
Glory
punch
kill?
them and glory kill. Yeah, that really tickles something in the brain. I love those. And there's so many of them. Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
every enemy has at least like 5, right? Or something like that.
yeah.
It's crazy.
If you've ever wanted to
But
rip the eyeball out of a Cyclops and stuff it into its mouth, this game is for you. If you've ever wanted to break somebody's arm and then stuff part of their bone through their skull, this game is for you. If you've ever tried to
I
sweep the leg and punch a head off, this game is for you.
this game is for you.
I
Yeah.
mean, Doom
I
Eternal
I
is the essence of action games.
I was gonna say that I don't understand how you can look at Doom and not just think like this action. This is action. It's the pinnacle. I
It
don't
really
know.
is.
I love it. So yeah, 100% I agree.
Yeah, I think in this case, like less is more. I think we've said everything that needs to be said about this game. This is my premier choice, and I love it, and I will not stop loving this franchise as long as it stays going the direction that it has. And the developers have done an incredible job knocking these games out of the park, and you guys deserve all of the praise that you get. Um,
And the music,
wow, yeah, yeah, it really is incredible. There was a little bit of an issue with them like giving proper credit to the composer and stuff like that, and shame on you for that because we pay artists for their work. But like, man, that is some incredible music. Really, really well done score, and it is themed so well with everything else that goes on inside the game.
I agree. Yeah, it's I think
We we have both
let's
played
move on.
we've
Let's
both played so much of the last game on the list. I mean, do you want to take this one?
yeah. Hades? I'll take Hades. Hades is a game where you haven't played it. You play as the son of Hades. and you want to escape hell or Hades. So you go
The
through these
the game Hades, where you are the son of
Hades
Hades, trying
sun,
to escape
escaping
Hades.
Hades.
Hades, Hades,
Yeah.
Hades, Hades.
Hades.
Yeah,
Anyways, you go through these randomly generated levels, and you get the blessings of gods that power up your weapons and just give you these abilities so that you can exit and talk to somebody. I'm not going to spoil it if in case you
yeah,
haven't played, but
yeah.
you can choose different weapons, um and then on top of choosing those different weapons, you're choosing different blessings for your character and his weapon, and like the magic he can use too, I guess. um and that makes a very replayable, action packed roguelike game. Like, you were just there sometimes there's just rooms full of baddies, and I don't know, you have a spear with Zeus's lightning that arcs out every time you swing the thing, and your attack speed's all maxed out, so you're just whipping your spear and there's lightning flying everywhere, and before you know it, the room's clear. Very enthralling, insane replay value, very fun game. I love Hades.
Now, I think that this is potentially the best game that we're going to talk about today that came out last year. And I would say that this is a game that does pretty much everything that it does perfectly. Um, and the only reason that it's not winning action game of the year for me is because it just isn't quite as explosive as Doom. That's it.
It's true.
Honestly, like, I think that this is easily the runner up because the combat in this game is incredible and it's so well thought out and so polished, and I love everything about it, and I love all the different
Yeah.
upgrades and the different like ways that you can fight enemies and how much choice you have over exactly how your character plays every single run through outside of like the randomizer, you know. So you're limited to a few choices each time you get a new upgrade, but
Mhm.
that is all your choice. You design your character how you want to every run, and every run feels a little bit different and a little bit fresh and lets you experiment in new ways, and it's brilliant. I mean,
It is.
that is the only like word I can use to describe this game is brilliant.
I agree. It's really hard to get bored of Hades. Like, you would really have to put some time into this game.
Yeah,
And if you're bored, change your weapon. Change the god favors that you get. Like, it's you put a lot of time into this game and not get tired of the combat for sure.
yeah. I think unanimously here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Our action game of the year is going to be Doom Eternal.
Yeah, totally.
There
I
is
would pick
not,
Doom.
yeah, there is not a single game
I
that
don't
has
know
come
how you
out.
don't.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's too good.
I would venture to say in the last 4 years since Doom 2016, there has not been a single game that has captured the essence of action games in the same way that Doom Eternal has
I mean,
at all.
really, Doom's been there have been a few hiccups here and there, but Doom's been hitting for a very long time as
We
far
don't
as
we don't talk
action
about
goes.
we don't talk about Doom 3, but all the other
Yeah,
ones
no.
looking good.
Few hiccups, but
Yeah.
otherwise, Doom hits. It's a yeah, definitely my game of the year choice for action.
So we're gonna kind of zoom through this one just so we have a chance to properly talk about our Game of the Year awards. But we have our next category is Best Ongoing Multiplayer Game, and the games on this list are World of Warcraft, Valorant, League of Legends, No Man's Sky, and Among Us. So what I want you to do is look at these games and pick one, and then pick a runner up in your mind. If you look at this list right here, if you had to pick
Oh
one game here and
man.
then pick a runner up, I mean, best ongoing multiplayer game. So even if it's one that just blew up in the last year, I mean, you look at a game like Among Us, came out like 3 4 years ago, and then suddenly blew up and is one of the biggest games to ever exist. Like, period.
I have
It's
I
massive.
have two on my mind, and I like it's really hard because I like them each for like a different reason. As far
Okay.
as, of course, World of Warcraft. I
Yeah.
love World of Warcraft. I always have, I always will. I there's a feeling of just progression and camaraderie that I have never experienced in any other game. For
Yeah.
that reason, I will always love that game. The other one, Among Us, I I I haven't had this much fun in a game, like mafia styled game, ever. I think Among Us is so like simply beautiful. It's just this bare bones game that isn't really like anything special on the outside, but when you're actually playing it with a group of friends, you're like, "Wow, this is fun. There's a lot going on here." Granted, you might lose a few friends in the process, but it's fun game. I don't know, like, if I would choose between one of those 2 for sure, but I like them each for different reasons.
Yeah.
How about you, though? I'll think about it.
I love World of Warcraft and I still play it regularly, but that is actually
Yeah.
not one of the games that I'm picking because I am basing this off of 2020 alone. And for the first like 10 months of 2020, World of Warcraft was a huge disaster for me. Like I did not think it was in a good state. I did not enjoy it. It was not fun. There was way too much to catch up on. It was not fun to play new characters because there was just way too much stuff that you had to do to get caught up with anybody else. And as much as I think that this is one of the best and the biggest, it's definitely the best and biggest MMO out, like MMORPG game out, and it's not close, you know? Like other games
Yeah.
might be better in different areas, but this is the most polished, most like well realized MMORPG game that is on the market. It was just in a bad state last year, up until the very end when
You
the new expansion came out, which is awesome.
you shifted my opinion a little bit. I wasn't
Yeah,
thinking about it like that, and now that you say that, I don't really think I wanna add World of Warcraft.
yeah.
I
I
would
do still think it's one of the
instead
best, but yeah,
yeah, I agree, just not for 2020 as a whole.
yeah.
I that being said, I think I might swap my WoW pick to Valorant.
Interesting.
I yeah, I think Valorant is it holds a special place in my heart as well. That's
We
one of
have
my,
been
like
we've been having a lot of fun the last few nights,
yeah. Yeah,
honestly.
we've all been playing together.
Yeah,
And even when it came out, like, I was like, "Wow, this game is really, like" say what you want about it, bad game or good game, it's really it's got an audience. There's a lot of people playing Valorant, and when you're playing with friends, very fun. So much fun. Even if you're playing against the sweatiest 5 stack alive, I
fun.
mean, sometimes it's not kind of sometimes you get pub stomped and that's a bad time, but when you're with your friends, makes it a little easier. You get pub stomped and not hurt so bad, but anyway,
Yeah,
that game has the shooting, I like to give it crap, curved barrels and all, but it's fun to learn. It's not like it never feels painful. The abilities are fun to use. You have an assortment of characters with different abilities so that if you get stale on a one, you can switch to another and it goes on and on. And the ranking
absolutely.
system's cool.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
choices are actually two games that I don't play a lot and don't intend to play a lot, but it's probably Among Us is number one, and then League of Legends is number
Yeah.
two.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
think that
I don't like League anymore, so I'm biased.
I don't like League anymore either, but I feel like after playing it, I can look at something like that and hear the music and see the artwork and the skin design and how well the servers work and like how competitive and ever changing the meta is in that game and how like just polished the entire thing feels, like all of the combat and how well everything works together and how good all the maps look and like how well designed the map is and how it all interacts with each other. And i I think that League of Legends is one of the biggest MOBAs for a reason, and it hasn't fallen off for a reason. A lot of MOBAs have come and gone,
Yeah.
and League of Legends, Dota have both stayed in contention for like the biggest MOBA in the world. I mean, I don't have the numbers on which one is bigger, but I mean, those two are the two big names. I love Smite. Okay, I do. I would rather play Smite, but the level of polish on League of Legends is it's genuinely on another level. These people have put a
Yeah.
lot of love and a lot of passion and a lot of money into their game and making it work as well as it does, and I commend them for that. And I think that it is one of the best, most consistent ongoing games. I think that it has been consistently in a state where people want to play it who like that game for the longest time. And
It's
I think
true.
that it deserves to be commended for that, even if I don't want to play it. You know, I can
I
look at something objectively and say, this is a banger. And if this is your type of game, you're going to enjoy it.
it is a banger. I mean, League is probably aside from World of Warcraft, the one game that I consistently played the longest for
Yeah.
like and I'm yeah, I got to bring it up every podcast. I'm a young guy. I'm only 20. I I I was in middle school when I started playing this, but even for me, that's like what, nearly 8 years ago, like and it's still just as popular, if not more popular today. Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Nearly a decade. Probably been I think League is a decade old, isn't it? Something like that?
I have
Maybe
no
9
idea.
years?
I
It's
have
getting
no
there,
clue.
and
I don't know when it came out.
it's not going away anytime soon.
Not at all. It's getting bigger. Honestly,
Yeah.
it is. They're putting more money into it. The esports scene is blowing up. Esports as a whole is blowing up. Their art team is knocking it out of the park with the shorts that they do and the trailers for Worlds and all that stuff. They're incredible. They're so brilliant.
Mhm. Those holographic dragons they have flying through the stages and
Yeah. Yeah, it's
little
amazing.
yeah. If you haven't seen that, go Google that, boys. It's a sight to behold. The world's like opener performance, insane.
It is so good. And yet, it's not my number one.
Yeah.
Among Us.
Well, it's not
Among
mine
Us is my
either.
number one. And I mean, this is a game from a what 3-man dev team, I believe, that
Yeah.
released like 3 or 4 years ago under the radar that nobody paid attention to. And who knew? All we needed was for the entire world to catch COVID, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it blew up before that, but still, like it has continued to grow. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
Among Us
has.
is reaching people who don't play video games. It is Among Us, 4-person dev team. Thank you, Erica.
Poor person.
Among Us, in my mind, has even transcended Skyrim at this point as the game that even if you're not a gamer, this is your game.
A
Because
lot
my wife's
everybody knows.
my wife's coworkers, okay, who they've watched my stream because they like me as a person, but like they have no interest in video games. They play Among Us at
Yeah.
work. They play Among Us at work, all of them together, you know? And like
That's
one of
funny.
them, Laura, she's got 2 kids, you know? Bailey, like she has never been a gamer. She's musically inclined. She works as like a radio show host, like I believe on the weekends and stuff like that. Like this is a game that is reaching people from every single walk of life,
My
you know, and bringing them together.
60-year-old grandpa has he's aware of what Among Us is, and
Yeah,
that's saying something. My grandpa, he's not very he don't like games, so
yeah.
when he hears about it, that's how you know.
I think that Among Us is a game that captures the essence of video games in its purest form. The form that is just all about having fun with people that you like or having fun with people that you don't even know. You know, this is
Yep.
a game that you get together with people that you love and you sit down and you have a good time and it gets crazy. It's like when you used to play Monopoly with your family. I don't know if you did that, but me and my family used to play a lot of board games and this feels the same way to me. Like sitting down and playing that one night that I did with you guys, because I've only played Among Us for one night because it's not a game that I like to play because I'm too competitive and I don't want to get rude with people. And like that's on me, you know. But this is a game that captured gaming in its truest sense, like back in the days of Super Mario, where you just played it for fun to beat the levels, and it was polished and it worked and it was cool, you know. This was
Yeah.
about enjoyment. This was about the moments that you share with other people and the moments that you build on your own. This is a game that is there so that you can have your own fun in a way that you have engineered yourself with the people that you have surrounded yourself with, and in some cases make new friends. And I think that that is what gaming is all about, and it's beautiful. And I'm here for that. That is the best ongoing multiplayer game this year, hands down.
I'm here for it. I'm there. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Among Us.
yeah,
You're taking our ongoing multiplayer game of the year. Congratulations to you.
absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic game. Could not say more good things about it, even as someone who doesn't even want to play it. So
Mhm.
congratulations to the guys. You won. You deserve every single award that y'all won from every like people who do awards. Seriously.
True.
Yeah. On to the big
Even
one.
though ours is the most important. Don't
Yeah.
forget.
Don't get me wrong. You
Yeah.
know,
Those
ours
awards
is
are
more
cool and
important,
all.
but we just want to give a shout out to the smaller guys like the Game Awards and the BAFTAs and all that are going to happen. So, you
Yeah.
know, just so that they can get a little bit of cred too. Moving on to the big one though, Game of the Year. Now, I wanted to talk about this one quite a bit because there's a few games on here that are very deserving. The first game on the list, Doom Eternal. Um, Outside of the issue with like giving the composer proper credit and stuff like that, like, I mean, Doom Eternal was one of the most perfect games that I played. It was so fun. I say electric over and over again about this game because that is all I can use to describe it. Maybe it's all the metal music, who knows? But I mean, this game is fantastic and it's fun and it's fast paced and it is just a lightning rod of a video game. And if you haven't played it, you should. I mean, it's also on Game Pass, I believe, and like you have to respect what the developers have done here. The artwork is fantastic, the combat is fantastic, the music is fantastic. It's one of the best optimized games, hands down, that came out last year. I mean, it's a game that you can run in 4K and crank up the settings and still get decent FPS in. I mean, we can't say the same about a game like Cyberpunk, even though it's a completely different game and not linear and open world. I mean, the developers took the time that they needed and polished this game, and it runs like a charm. I think it's great. It's not my game of the year, but this is incredible.
I
and definitely
really wanna
deserving of commendation.
I want the chance to play Doom really like, I've seen it and I'm in love just watching the gameplay. Like, I would love to just get my hands on it and try it for once, but, I mean, I agree with you 100%. From what I've seen, that game is like it's hard to take my eyes off. I can't when I watched you stream it, I was sitting there the whole time just like
Yeah,
gawking at the screen. It's crazy. It's so good.
it's like 15 to 25 hours of just pure adrenaline. Like
Yeah.
honestly, it is electrical adrenaline. Yeah, great
I
game.
liked I liked the whole like the climbing thing too. Like it never felt like boring watching it. Like it
Yeah.
was always like some engaging climbing. It had purpose, like puzzle type stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the movement in the game, the level design, fantastic, brilliant. I
Yeah.
mean, very well thought
Yeah,
out,
the
very well
level
realized.
design
Yeah,
should be commended for sure. That was a huge thing I noticed. That level design is insane. There's so
yeah.
much going on and it's not cluttered or unnecessary. Like it's everything's there for a reason and it works and it's fun.
The last time I was impressed on the same level with like level design specifically would have been Bloodborne. You know,
Yeah.
like for a different reason, just because of how it all connects and like how you unlock new areas and find shortcuts and things like that. I thought that was very
Yeah,
well thought out, and I think that this is well thought out, like in a similar way. It's just
I
very,
agree.
it's something that they paid a lot of attention to. Nothing on these levels is done by mistake.
Yeah,
Everything was by design for a reason and a purpose, intended to look the way that it did, and it fired on all cylinders. I love it. Doom Eternal,
100%.
great option. The next game on our list, and I mean, I'm just going to throw this out here right now. This is my game of the year for sure. Hades. I mean, hands down. Like it feels kind of weird to include the second because I'm telling you already, this is my game of the year choice. But this is a game that at the Game Awards specifically should have won.
They deserve yeah,
Um,
it deserved it.
The Last of Us 2 won at the Game Awards, by the way. I don't know if that's by popular vote or who decides or what, but
Come
Hades is a game that
on.
I look at, and every single piece of this game is done as perfectly as it could be. There
Yeah.
wasn't one thing in this game while I was playing Hades, even as someone who's bad at it. Like, I'm not very good at it, honestly. Like, I am not that good at bullet hell games, you know? So, like, having to dodge a lot of projectiles, like, sometimes I struggle. Like, if I had, like, perfect rolls on, like, all of my upgrades and all that stuff, I could go on a good run, but I'm not a good Hades player. This game is perfect for all intents and purposes.
It's so good. I I'll keep my decision secret, but Hades, man.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. I mean, this is the gold standard
I've
for
said
gaming.
what I yeah, I've said what I wanted to say about it earlier. I mean, I talk about I feel like we we talk about this game a lot, like
Yeah,
nearly every podcast. It's very deserving of a nomination and your selection in every way.
very much. The next game on our list is Ghost of Tsushima. This is one that I didn't play. I haven't watched. I've seen trailers. I've
Mhm.
seen some gameplay clips, and that's it. So I don't have much
Okay.
to say about this game.
Well, let me tell you about it. Ghost of Tsushima is a game where you are a samurai and the Mongols invade your homeland and all of your samurai buddies die and you take it into your hands to drive out the Mongols. It is your dying purpose. Your character will die to do this. Throughout the story, he does things. The
Does he do
he
things?
it's hard. I'm trying not to spoil it because I don't want to.
I get you. I get you.
He samurai are supposed to be upfront and show honor,
Hmm.
and as some of you may know about this game, it is very stealth inclusive.
Hmm.
Ghost is in the title. Samurai weren't known as being ghosts.
Yeah.
So
Fierce
there's some
warriors.
conflict that arises from him being a sneaky little guy
Huh.
in a world full of honor. And it creates quite a beautiful narrative story, if you ask me. Also, so that sword play in that game, the combat, some I comparable to it kind of reminds me of the Neo thing where like you change stances
Yeah.
and I don't think it's nearly as like hardcore. You don't need to dodge or anything like that most of the time. But very like parry heavy, I would say. And your stances, depending on the type of enemy you're facing, you want to change stances. So it's a little more than just swinging your sword. once you have a lot of skills, it turns into that, but, like, most of the game, you actually kinda have to think about, "Okay, I need to take this enemy out doing this or this or this." And
Yeah.
then on top of that, you have your stealth mechanics and a wonderful story, so I think Ghost of Tsushima is great.
Yeah, I think this is a strong contender for Game of the Year based on the information that I know about it. The reason that I haven't played this game yet actually is because I'm waiting to play it until I get a PS5. I wasn't sure if it
Yeah.
was going to get a graphical upgrade or what. I'm not sure if it did. I think it got some kind of optimization for it, seeing as it's a game that came out in the last year. But this is a game that I looked at and I saw the artwork and like how beautiful the game is, and I was like, I want to see this game in all of its glory. Um,
Yeah,
so I'm waiting for PS5 for this one.
this game was an interesting one for me because I feel like I didn't hear anything about it until, like, a week before it came out, and I was like, "Wow, this game looks incredible." And then I
Yeah,
bought it and played it, and it was an amazing game.
yeah. It's
Side
honestly.
content's pretty good too. I'll throw that in there.
Yeah, I would say that like Ghost of Tsushima is probably the most slept on game on this list. Well, probably the second most slept on game on this list, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
So the next game on our list is The Last of Us Part Two. I still haven't finished this just because I have a busy schedule and it is what it is. But what I've
Okay.
played of this game is beautiful. You know, I mean, it is incredible. It deserves the praise that it got. I'll say. I don't think
It
that
is
it's a better game than Hades, like just comparing side by side all of the things, but
yeah,
definitely a lot more time, money, resources like had to go into this game.
of course.
So
And it shows.
yeah.
I've always stuck up for this game through all of the hate that it got. Like, I never once thought that The Last of Us was a bad game. I think they could have maybe taken the narrative in a different direction,
Hmm.
and that could have made a lot of people a lot more happy, but I'm not completely disappointed with the way that they did take it. I think
Same.
there's a little bit of like, you know what, never mind, ignore me. I don't want to talk about it. It's a spoiler.
Okay, yeah,
Um
no spoilers here.
yeah,
Even this late in the year, no spoilers. All right.
I almost like slipped something, but we're good. Never mind.
Yeah,
No, yeah, it's a great game, and the ending is all worth it. You'll
yeah.
I think you'll have like an even greater appreciation for the ending, or you might not like it. I don't know. I think the ending was what really turned people off. But
I loved the ending of the first one because it made me question characters that I loved personally.
yeah,
It made me really think about like moral decisions and what I would do in that situation. And I love anything that'll make me think like that personally. I love things that make me take a second and be like, man, you know, like these
oh,
these
this will
these
do
people
that to
feel
you.
human, you know? These people are making decisions that I would hesitate to make, that I would be unsure if I could make. Like you talk about
Yeah,
sacrifice and the things that you would do for other people and for the good of mankind and things like that. And it's like, but would you really? You
yeah,
know? Everybody likes
it's
to
true.
believe they'd be the one to jump in front of the bullet, but realistically, very few people would. And I love games that make me question that kind of thing. And I think narratively, these games have always been a masterclass. I think Naughty Dog is incredible with what they're able to do with the PlayStation hardware. Every single time they put out a game, the games are beautiful, they run well, and they're better than anything else that comes out on the platform. So
You're gonna love the ending of The Last of Us
yeah, yeah, I have to finish
Part
it at
2.
some point. That's for sure. The next game on our list is Half-Life Alyx. I have a PlayStation VR headset. I do not have a PC one yet. Do you have a PC headset?
I do. I have I have a an Oculus Rift S,
Have you played
but
this?
I haven't played this yet.
Oh man. Okay.
I
So
know.
like even as someone who has never touched this game, I've seen gameplay of it, and this is the best virtual reality game that came out last year, by the way. Enough
I've heard
so,
great things.
yeah, enough so that it's on our list as a contender for game of the year.
Yeah,
And I would say that this is easily my third choice for game of the year. Would have been Half-Life Alyx, because what they've been able to do with the hardware and how you can interact with so many things and how polished the game looks and how real it looks, and being able to interact with so many parts of your environment that typically in a video game you look at and you're like, that's a set piece, and you're able to reach onto a shelf and just pick up a can and just look at it, and it's
can.
and they developed that. They made it so
Yeah,
that you can interact with all of it, and it's brilliant, and this is the future of gaming,
I
honestly.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I'll always believe that VR is the future of gaming.
Yeah.
I think once we really like nail VR to the point where the controls are smooth and the graphics look how they look on a PC and a headset, like, sky's the
I
limit, dude.
I
That's
would
when we start getting
actually
into some Sword Art Online business.
I would actually venture to say that they did that. That they nailed virtual reality right here. That
Really? Okay.
this is the breaking point for me. The only thing that's holding VR back right now is the price entry. Like the price for entry
Yeah.
into VR. That is the only thing that's holding it back right now. Because
You know,
even
I
with like the Oculus Quest or whatever and the affordable options, like to be able to realize VR in its glory, you need a solid PC. So that's going to set you back like,
true. Yeah.
you know, realistically $1,000 to $2,000 if you want to
Yeah.
run games well for a while. And then on top of that, you have to buy the headset. And if you're getting a proper headset, you're spending $500 to $1,000 again. That is a very high entry point for video games, you know? Like if you're not streaming, I don't expect you to spend more than $1,500 on PC unless you're an enthusiast or have a lot of extra money. So to more than double that cost, it's insane for entry. And then on top of that, you got to buy games, and sometimes you got to buy an extra camera for proper tracking and all that stuff. Like it's too
Yeah.
expensive right now. But this game is I mean, they nailed virtual reality in this game. This is the best it's ever been, and this is probably what for future virtual reality games will model themselves after. I think that this is the
I
tipping
hope
point right
so.
here.
From what I've seen, it looks incredible, and it's gonna be my next buy. I'll
Yeah,
have to I'll have to tell you how it goes. I'm gonna dive into Half-Life.
yeah, absolutely.
Also, people have been wanting Half-Life content for so long. It's another thing to add. Like after Half-Life, the last one they made, I when's the next Half-Life coming out, guys? Come on, Valve, where are you at?
Nobody knows.
It,
Nobody knows.
it's
Not
gone.
anybody knows. I
Gabe
mean,
took it and ran with
yeah,
it, man.
he
He's
took it to New Zealand when he got COVID, and he left it over there. He buried it somewhere. Um, but this is a beautiful game, and narratively, the Half-Life games have always been great. The story's been cool. The gameplay has been awesome. All of the gun mechanics and everything like that have felt snappy, and it's a very well realized game. This is the future of gaming right here, and we saw it unfold in front of us in 2020 with Half-Life Alex. 100%.
I'm gonna I'm gonna buy it.
Yep. The last game on our list, and this is one that I put on here because it deserves to be on here, and I don't care if you don't agree with me because you're wrong, listeners. Immortals Phoenix Rising is the most slept on game that came out last year, and it is one of the best games that came out last year. Hands down.
Tell us why. I don't know
So,
anything about this game
if you played
gameplay
Breath of
wise
the
though.
Wild and liked Breath of the Wild, you need to buy this game. This game is Breath of the Wild, but done right, in my opinion. It is set in like a Greek mythology type area, and so you run around and there's different gods that you interact with. It's actually narrated by Zeus and another god. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember his name right now, but it's narrated by two gods, and their humor is witty and smart, and like it's only rated T for teens, so they're not out here making like penis jokes or anything like that. Like it's not, like it's not crude humor or
Phew.
anything like that. Like, but it's just so well thought out and well realized. The game is beautiful. It looks incredible. You can play it on your PC, so you don't have to play it at 22 FPS and sometimes 12. Like this game is so just like every time that I discovered something new in this game, it felt fresh and new to me. All of the puzzles are so well done and they interact so well with the world around you. And it's like you'll go to new areas and find puzzles that interact with a puzzle that you found earlier. So for instance, like you come across this big harp in the first area that you're in, and you're like, okay, what do I do with this? And it says play notes, you know, in a certain order to unlock treasures. And there's 4 little globes of light around, or 5. There might be 5. And what you have to do is go to other areas on the map, solve puzzles, and at the end of some of these puzzles, there'll be a small harp. And when you walk up to it, it'll play notes in a certain order. You remember the order of those notes, go back to the big harp, and you shoot the strings with your bow and arrow in a certain order, and a portal opens up, and you can pull treasure out.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. I mean, like,
big puzzles.
and this is like beginner area puzzles, okay, is what I'm talking about here. So also when you shoot your arrows, you can take control of the arrow and direct where it goes on some of the puzzles. You got to do that. It does have dungeons similar to how Breath of the Wild did, where you go in there and you like transport to this other realm and then you solve puzzles and you get a reward at the end.
Yeah.
It does have armor upgrades, but the way that armor works in this game, first of all, your weapons don't break. It's already better than Breath of the Wild. That was a terrible design choice. The
Yeah,
fact
I
that all of
hated
my
that.
weapons were constantly breaking was awful, and I didn't enjoy it. It felt like Monster Hunter World, but worse because I couldn't just resharpen it. I had to find another one.
It's broken. Gone.
You just find weapons, and the combat is fluid. You can use like essentially your sword, and then you get like a big two-handed axe, and then also you get your bow. And you can use all of these in combos in conjunction with each other during combat. So you can go 2 swings with the sword, immediately pull out the axe and do a big swing with the axe. Your axe deals more stun damage, so you can stun him with the axe and then like do quick strikes with the sword. You can get headshots with the bow, and everything is fluid and fast and snappy. The monsters are awesome, and all of the monsters have unique combat interactions similar to Breath of the Wild. And then on top of that, there is already a transmog system in the game. If you're not familiar with transmog, you can take all of the stats from gear that you find. Okay, you can put on that gear if you want different stats. So if you want gear that makes your axe do more damage, like stun, like have an increased chance to stun your target, you can put that on, but have the appearance of some other armor that you like. And every time you collect a new piece of armor, you get that appearance. You can look however you want. How
Love
smart is that?
transmogging.
How smart is that?
More Not a lot of games do that for some reason, and it's such a wonderful thing. Just
Yeah.
let me look the way I want to look without getting penalized for it, please.
Yeah. I mean, this game is legitimately, it took Breath of the Wild, it saw the formula and it was like, this is cool, and did it better in almost every way. This game is fantastic. And if you haven't played it and you like that formula of game, you need to play this game. It's on Switch, it's on PlayStation, it's on Xbox, it's on PC. It runs incredible on PC. Get this game. It is probably the most fun I've had in an open world game in years.
All right, I'm getting it right now.
Yeah. You need to. You need to. It is incredible.
I'm going to.
Yeah.
That's my next buy actually. So, you know,
Yeah. I will
if I'm
be
buying it,
completely honest with you. If Hades had not come out this year, this would be my game of the year. Definitely.
all right.
This is
Okay.
my second
So
choice.
are you locked in on Hades?
I am absolutely locked in on Hades. It's too well done.
All right. Well, I think I'm gonna have to lock in on Hades too.
I
How
think,
can you not, dude? The game was so good.
and I had more fun playing Immortals Phoenix Rising because that's my style of game, honestly.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not very good at Hades, you know? It's not a game that I spent a lot of time with, but this is a game that I look at in the same way that I looked at Grand Theft Auto 5 when it came out. I don't enjoy the Grand Theft Auto games, but that game is a masterpiece. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is so well
Pretty
realized.
good.
Every aspect of that game works, and works well, and works in conjunction with the other aspects. Hades has done so many things right, it's almost sickening. Like, it is
Yeah.
impossible to look at another game and say that it did any aspect of that game better than Hades did. I mean, I feel like we could pick on other games on this list and say that they did this one thing perfectly, and Hades also did it perfectly, just in a different way. And it is
Yeah,
so unique.
I was thinking about that like graphically.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you know, The Last of Us might have these super real looking, I can see the pores on your face type graphics, but like Hades, I appreciate like a higher grade art style than like a realistic style any day.
Yeah.
And Hades has that in spades. The art style in Hades is so nice. Like every god that comes up has their own little like splash animation, and then it's just like they look all artistic. It's just so good. I would take Hades graphics over Last of Us graphics
And I mean, can we talk
any
for a
day.
second about the voice acting? Wow.
Dude,
Every
the main
single
character,
voice I heard in that game, I mean, main character included, but every single character that popped up and said something to my character in Hades, wow. I mean,
you think
these
like
people are knocking
that's
simple
really
lines out of the park.
yeah, man. And you're like, man, that's really what Zeus would sound like. Like they really like nail the whole every god. I feel like it sounded exactly like how I would imagine.
Yeah. And I mean, like listening to all of the sound effects in the game, like even outside of the voice acting, like just the sound design alone of all of the weapons and the way that all of your like abilities interact with all of the creatures and everything like that. And when something dies, like the small like puff of smoke or whatever that you see depending on what you're killing, all of the boss abilities, everything like that. Like, I mean, every single thing about this game has been fine tuned to the umpteenth degree. I mean, it is, for all
Mhm.
intents and purposes, I would even say not even just this year. I would say of the last decade, this is probably like a hallmark for games. Like, I mean, this
Yeah.
is my gold standard personally for gaming and game design. And I mean, this is not a studio that has the resources of a studio like, you know, Naughty Dog or like id Software who developed Doom Eternal or any of the Ubisoft, you know, like developers who developed Immortals Phoenix Rising or even Valve who made Half-Life Alyx. And they took what they had and they said, we are putting all of this time into dedicating all of ourselves to our craft and making the best game that we possibly can, and it's coming out when it's ready. They took some time in early access
Yeah.
on the Epic Game Store, which a lot of people didn't like, but like having that time for testing and letting people get their hands on it and getting feedback on it, like I feel like they used early access right. I'm unhappy that it was on Epic before Steam, but that is what it is. You know, sometimes as a smaller developer, you got to take the paycheck. But I look at this
Well,
game
they
and
had passion
yeah,
and they had all the time they needed. No crunching needed from their stockholders. Nobody breathing down their necks. They just said, "You know what? Let's take this idea we have for this game and make a beautiful game. We have the time." They used their early access properly, tested the game out, ironed out things that needed ironing out, and boom, we have Hades. Beautiful game.
yeah. I think that you would be hard pressed to find anything that does what this game does as well as it does on every level.
Mhm.
I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I mean, there is nothing that I have seen that is wrong with this game. Even people that I know that are bad at video games who've tried this game appreciate it. Like bad at every video game, not like bad just at like, bullet hell shooters like me. Like even the people who can't have fun playing this game appreciate how good it is. And I think that that is how
Yeah,
you know that you found
it's a good
something
game.
special here.
Yeah, absolutely.
The price
So,
point, like even from an economy standpoint, the price point is right for this game too. It's only
was it was like
$25, 20 on
20
sale.
bucks? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
If you don't own Hades and you have 20 bucks, Christmas, birthdays, you
Yeah.
just mowed your grandma's lawn, buy Hades, it's good. It's worth it. And it's on Switch, PC. I don't believe it's on consoles,
Let me double check
but
and look real quick. Let's see,
if you have a
just to make sure.
Switch or a PC, I know for sure it's there and it is worth every penny. You will put at least like God, I don't even know. I put like 30 to 40 into it and it's the same thing over and over again. You might ask, Devin, how do you put 30 to 40 hours in a game where you're just going through the same levels over and over?
Yeah.
It changes forever.
Yeah.
You would have to do a lot of playthroughs to do everything in that game or try every different weapon and God favor.
Yeah. And I mean, it is only on Switch and PC. But the last thing I'm going to say
Okay.
about this game is, I would liken this to Warcraft 3, if you will, because
Really?
when Warcraft 3 came out, it pushed the real-time strategy genre forward in a way that no other game had done before that, and it captured narrative in a real-time strategy environment for the first time and did it well and gave you characters that you cared about and you felt things for and gave you a story that you were invested in, and it is the reason that World of Warcraft became as successful as it did. And I look at a game like Hades that took the roguelite genre, which has long stood on the merits of its gameplay. I mean, the Binding of Isaac, for some intent, has like a little bit of story elements there, but the roguelite genre as a whole has stood for a long time only on the merits of like interesting 2D artwork, in some cases 3D artwork, in the case of a game like Gunfire Reborn, and its gameplay and
Yeah.
replayability. I mean, that's what you've been looking at. But here comes a game that takes the music and knocks it out of the park. It takes the voice acting and
The
knocks it out of the park
music.
and wraps it up in a narrative that's interesting and compelling and makes you want to keep playing the game for the story alone. I mean, this is the game that even if it wasn't a roguelike and it was only an action event, like an action RPG game, and you could just like replay from checkpoints or whatever and keep going. And they put a god mode in the game for even people who are bad. So even if you like lose, you can keep going to see the story. And if you haven't already, you should play through and do that because the story is that good. And I
Yeah,
think that
it
this
is.
is like the start of a renaissance for roguelike games. And I think we're going to see more games in the future start to come out with more story like this. And this is where I want to see the game industry going. I want to see developers pushing their games to their absolute limit, pushing their talents to their absolute limit, and getting paid because they deserve it.
Yes. Hades, dude. My
It-
game of the year.
The game of the year.
Your game of the year.
Yeah.
The game of the year.
Potentially the game of
The
the decade, honestly.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we can
Yeah, we,
put
we might
together one of those at some point. That'd be a fun idea.
we might have to look over that at some point for sure.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
But you heard it here, folks. The gaming tonic game of the year is gonna
Hades.
go to Hades. Yes.
Absolutely. And there's
And
there's
then
no game more deserving.
for a quick review, the RPG game of the year was split between Neo 2 and Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Action game of the year was Doom Eternal,
Mhm.
and the ongoing multiplayer went to Among Us.
Yeah. All incredibly deserving games. Obviously, if you're a console player, Cyberpunk 2077 is not in the conversation, but it's awesome on PC. I hope you have a PC so you can play this game, guys. Seriously, it's
Yeah, it's
incredible.
fun. It is
Um,
really cool.
that is about going to wrap it up for this episode. It is our first episode of 2021. I am excited for the future. I
Woo!
am glad to be back. I am excited to see what we're going to do. We're going to get some new guests on
Yes,
the show. We're
sir.
going to get some returning guests on the show. We're going to be in talks with people very soon here about coming back on here. So some names that you know and love, and hopefully some new names to branch out into some different topics of conversation. Get you
Yes,
guys
sir.
following some new and up and coming streamers on the scene. Some people that we think you'll like a lot. For anyone who is interested, do you have the socials links and all that, Devin?
Got you right here. There's the
Awesome.
socials.
Awesome. So for people who don't know where they can find you, where can they find you, Devin Kronk?
You can find me either at twitch.tv/Devin Kronk. If you're watching from home, I'm gonna throw all the links in the description. And then on Twitter, it's gonna be the same thing. Just Devin_Kronk with 2 Ks. Which reminds me, I need to change that in the chat. Still ordinary Joker over there. How about you, Vince? Where can we find you at, man?
Well, for anyone who wants to find me, you are more than welcome to find me here on my channel, twitch.tv/justvince, or you can find me on Twitter at Vince0094. And now, unfortunately, you can find me on TikTok at TwitchJustVince on TikTok. I have one TikTok uploaded, and it has been getting some likes, so let's go. We're doing it. The algorithm showing me some love. And we are live here on Gaming Tonic every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time. You can catch our podcast episodes on podcast services all around the world. Whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, whatever it's called, we appreciate you. You can check out our YouTube channel if you want to watch the VODs. Those are there. Also, we are going to be doing more gaming content throughout the week. We just played some Sea of Thieves last night, and it was incredibly fun. There's going to be some clips coming out on that on TikTok. I hope you guys are excited to catch that content, and we are going to be looking to host somebody else in a little bit of a second here, so if you want to stick around for that. And if you want to be a guest on the show, do we want people to be a guest on the show, Devin?
Of course.
Of course
I would
we do.
love to have anybody on this show. As long as you have a passion for video games, bring it in. Come
Get
on.
on the show. If you're a content creator, okay, and you want to be on the show, you want to get your name out there, you want to meet some new people, we have an incredible community of other small streamers that we work with on a regular basis. We want you to be involved with what we're doing. We have guests on here regularly. They're awesome people. Check out Shoria. Check out Spicy Doom. Awesome guys. They're people who we were just playing with last night, actually. So,
Yes, sir.
thank you all so much as always. What's up, dude?
One more thing before we head off. I just want everyone to know, anyone listening, either here or at home on one of the other services, I'm gonna be posting on the YouTube channel. I'm gonna start throwing all the links in the description of the YouTube. So if you're not subbed to the YouTube yet, it's just Gaming Tonic. It's got our logo, the GT. Head over there, find our links all in the bottom of that for anyone who's listening anywhere else. Just wanted to get that out there real quick.
Awesome. Thank you so much. As
Yep.
always, we appreciate you all. Thank you for the new follow, Epic Reverb. I saw your name pop up earlier, but we were in the middle of conversation, so we saved most of that until the end. But you were awesome. It's wonderful to have you here. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will be live again next Saturday once again. Thank you all so much. I am just Vince. This is Devin Kronk, and that is the end of our episode. Hopefully you all have a fantastic week and a happy new year. Stick around for the host.
Later, boys.